Hello everyone. Thank you guys for watching this video. I'm just going to be going over Virginia International Raceway and going to give you guys a good quick tutorial and maybe not necessarily a tutorial, but a good quick overview of what the track's characteristics are and how this track just drives and what you might be experiencing on the track and why you might be experiencing it to hopefully give you a better understanding of how to drive Virginia International Raceway and yeah, and big thanks to my sponsors for helping me out and getting me started in my racing career. I've only been racing for a year, and I'm really happy and proud of the progress that I've made so far. So anyways, let's get on with the video. So here we are down at turn one, and kind of a long zone. You kind of don't realize how much room you have. Alright, so you kind of get to see right here what you got going on. This whole corner is kind of like it's an increasing radius corner, so it's kind of tighter on the entry, and then it opens up on the exit, so it makes it a little bit of a weird corner for people to grasp, especially with it being such a deep braking zone where you have to brake really hard into. Makes it very, very misreading corner, because you kind of want to get in tight, and it's also a bit off camber at points, so it's a difficult corner. I'm not gonna lie, it's a very difficult corner. So you have different braking markers. You have your 600 meter marker right here, and 500, 400, 300. Typically, I find the 300 marker pretty much where I brake, at least in the Mazda. So 300, 200. 200 is where I brake in the F3. 400. Just this area from basically 400 and onwards is the braking zone. Different cars that are faster and heavier, might need to use the 5 if they don't have as good as brakes, or the 6 if they don't have as good as brakes. But that's a long braking zone. So I don't know if anything in iRacing has that bad of brakes. But coming down to T1, after you brake here, it's kind of imperative to try to let the car set a little bit. You want to hook it on the apex and then kind of treat it as a double apex, using that second curve as your second apex. I wouldn't really push too wide at all. I mean, you can if you're in a faster car like the F3. It just presents more opportunity for you to go off the edge there and create more of a hazard for yourself. So I'm just going to try to come down as low as I can to the track without going through it. And we're gonna come back over here and look at what it looks like from over here. So you can kind of see, kind of crest a little bit over there, and it's also a little bit off camera. It's kind of hard to see right now, but it's a little bit on camera on the inside, and then it comes off camber on the outside. So you want to hook it in pretty decently tight and use the curb to kind of give you that extra little bit of camber. So you can kind of see right here the camber that it gives. But then once you come out here, you can kind of see that it's kind of off camber, and you kind of just kind of understeer off the track right here. Maybe it has a little bit of camber, but yeah, the inside's where you want to be, especially because the closer you go, the more off camber it gets. But it just has slight amounts of off camberness to it. It makes it a little bit more tricky, and it has a crest and everything. So all these different things factor into play and make it kind of off camber and a little bit more of a tricky corner. So you can kind of hug it in tight here and then apex right here. Or if you're feeling brave and you have a fast car, probably like the F3 is, or I need to be, is out here in order to get the best exit out here, because I should probably be on throttle way around there. Other cars, different throttle points and different things. There's no real reference points once you get in this corner. I mean, you have that reference point there where the tires stop, and then all the way around you just have that one right there. So I'm assuming maybe if you're in the Mazda, you can aim for that tire wall right there and kind of see where it takes you. But you use different things, use different trees, different like those tall trees. Look for different things around the track that are going to give you different reference points to use. These darker trees right here tell you where you're at on the track, especially if you're on a single screen monitor. It's imperative to really use and take advantage of the reference points that you have on the track to tell you where you are on the track and what you can do at this point in time, or what you should be doing at this point in time, so you can really trust the track and trust the car and push it harder into the corners. So now here we are at turn 2. Um, this one's pretty much, you know, your standard corner. It's flat, has some camber to it, all the way around. You really try to hook it in tight. You can really early apex this one because you do have the next corner coming out there, and you kind of want to get the best entry into that corner right there, because that corner is leading into our faster area where you're going to be straight the whole next bit. So you want to come out wide here. Don't do that. Come out kind of wide here, and this is a difficult braking zone because you want to brake, and you don't want to rotate the car too much. But you want to get it in there. You want to brake decently, but you don't want to brake too much. So you kind of want to carry a lot of speed into here. If you brake too much, then it can create an issue for you. But you have quite a bit of camber, but you don't want to go up on the outside because the outside's flat and the grip just drops away from you, and you'll end up running wide. So you really want to hook it in tight here again. So you know, kind of if we stand on the apex right around here-ish, maybe probably a little bit later, right around here-ish. Kind of see that you want to turn in right around there, which if we go over there, let's see, you go over here, you can kind of see where you want to be looking. You kind of see that those first 2 dark trees right there, and there's those 2 dark trees, and then you know it's 1, 2, 3, 4, right in that gap between that dark tree and that dark tree. It's probably where you want to be aiming for when you turn in. That's kind of where you want to be looking, and then look for that last tree. Or the end of the tire wall as your exit looking point to give you better exit markers. I am running on the lowest capacity because I am running on a laptop, and that is my only option at the moment, is running on a laptop. So just trying to make things work. Alright, so here we are at turn 4. Looking at a lot of this different stuff, you know, you can kind of see that this corner is a little bit like the rest of the corners. There's just one big quirk or difference, is that if you look here, it kind of has some camber to it, but on the inside's where all the camber's at, the inside's where all the grip's at. So you kind of want to bring it to the inside. You can kind of see all that extra camber that you get here on the inside. You want to use the curb to give you some more camber, but make sure not to clobber the curb because the curb is pretty big. It's not like massive, you know. In the MX-5 it's okay, in the other ones it's okay. You just want to hit the curb, not hit it at the right angle. Don't upset the car too much. You can actually take some grass here, not too much, otherwise you'll get an off track, but you can definitely take some grass here. And if we look at the apex here, which we can kind of actually, you know, oh, I went the wrong way. Can go like this, and look right there. You can kind of see where the apex is. You kind of want to lay apex that corner right there, right where we were at, because it's leading into this corner. You want to get the best exit out of that corner. You kind of want to straight line it into this corner, into turn 6 from turn 5. Or wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so anyways, turn 4 or 5 if you count that as a double apex, or 2 turns. Yeah, so anyways, going into this one, you kind of want to late apex this one. You can take some of the grass. You can kind of see where the grass is messed up right there, leading into this corner. And yeah, so you know, use the camber to your advantage. If you get a nose in on the inside here, you can pretty much typically always take your opponent. You know, unless you're in a high downforce car, then they could probably manage driving around you. But yeah, there's a corner where the inside is key. You know, you can see where this grass patch right here is what I was talking about. Kind of want to apex here and aim out to that corner. So if we get down on the apex right here, you can kind of see how you want to be looking at that corner. So you kind of want to use that corner right there as your apex. Or if you can't see, then there's that white tree right there, or the opening of those trees right there. You want to be just to the right of that, aiming into that corner. We'll get to that corner next, but anyways, if we get down right here on the apex, you can kind of see that the turning point's actually really late. So if the apex is right here, the turning point's right in that direction. So the turning point's right around here. So you kind of want to be aiming for that white sign over there, or the end of this tire wall. Either one of those points, whatever works for you. If you're on a single screen monitor, looking for where the tire wall ends is a good point to use. So, looking for the tire wall, looking for that mansion, different trees, using all these different things to give you more information on where you are on the track is important. So yeah, but if you get a nose in, you can pretty much take people. Don't expect them not to drive around the outside because they certainly can. Then just grip falls away out here on the exit, so be aware of that too, because it does drop off here. The camber does end here, and it actually cambers into the next corner a little bit too. That's pretty much, from what I remember, this is pretty much the entire aspect of what this track's characteristic is. It has just a little bit of camber on the inside and off camber or less camber on the outside, providing difficult and more competitive maybe corners. So yeah, so just keep that in mind. So coming into this corner right here, let's find the apex of this corner. This corner's apex is, so you can see again this corner is leading into a series of corners. So it actually is quite a late or an early apex corner. So you kind of early apex the corner, mid to early apex the corner maybe, depending on which car you are. Different cars you can late apex the corner. Other cars you might have to different cars you can early apex the corners. Other cars you might have to mid to late apex the car, depending on how it pushes out when you get on throttle. And then yeah, going into these series of corners, as you can see, the rest of this part is pretty essy, and it's actually pretty flat out and pretty easy to understand. But overall, it's a very simple section, I guess you could say. You can still lose time here if you don't do it right. You don't want to scrub tires. You don't want to do anything like that, because you want to treat it as a straight. Even though you are flat out, you want to treat it as much as a straight as possible. So you want to straight line all the corners, and I shouldn't say straight line all the corners, but you want to minimize the scrub, and you want to minimize all the different components of drag on the car, and you want to just get the best possible speed down the straight. So anyways, we'll look at the two different apexes. You have a early apex, and then you have a mid to late apex right here. So we'll look at the early apex, which is where that grass is kind of messed up right there. So yeah, and we'll get down here, and we'll look at where this puts us, and we'll look at what the camber is right here, and we'll look at the camber is on the exit. So as you can see right there, kind of the apex for right here is literally the apex for that last corner. So it's kind of lines it perfectly with that. So, looking for that kind of end of those trees right there on my screen, and I don't know what it look like on your screen, but whatever graphics you're running, whatever the case may be, try to pick out points that are relative to that track, or to what you have the graphics set to. But keep in mind, you can also use this curve as quite a bit of an incentive for yourself for getting you a little bit more camber on the corner. But as you can see, as we go to the outside, the camber kind of drops off, and then it kind of just levels out, and it drops off. Whereas down here, the camber is significantly better, a little bit, or at least better. And especially when you use the curb, it'll give your car a little bit more camber. So yeah, whatever the details are that you use, just that's the best thing to do. So we're gonna move on to coming out here. You want to kind of come out and use as much of the exit curve here as possible. I think this is kind of the first part of the track where you want to really make sure you maximize your exit curve. You want to do it on the everywhere else too. This one right here and the turn 3 are important to really make sure you are doing it. It has a little bit of a nice curving to it to give you a little bit more camber on the exit, so or a artificial camber on the exit, so you can use more of the curb. Just don't go over there. Don't go on this side where you see those lines. Stay on this side of the curb, and this side of the curb will actually give you more grip. So if you learn to use this side of the curb, you can actually get better at it and push the car a little bit harder on the exits, which will set you up for this corner. So this corner is kind of a late turn in. corner, so you kind of want to turn in right around here, I'd say, maybe a little bit earlier. It's kind of it's either an early long turn in or a late turn in, depending on how your car drives. In the F3, you could probably turn in pretty early, but it depends on how the car is set up on the F3 because the car could push or whatnot. I turn in, I think, let me see if I sit right here. I turn in right around here-ish. Yeah, right around here-ish and hit that apex. But if we go up here and look at these corners, you can kind of see where the tire line is there. I turn in relatively, early. You can kind of see right where I'm pointing right there, right at the edge of the curb. You can kind of see the way it turns in. It's kind of a gradual turn in, which is good, and that's kind of what you want to. That's a good corner to practice your steering inputs for being smooth on your steering turn in, and it'll really help you out with that because it is a gradual turn in. That's kind of how you want to load the car up. You want to load the car up gradually rather than dropping in the corner. But anyways, that's for a different topic. But you can kind of see where the apex is. You can see where the mass amount of grass damage is right there, right pointing into the center of the corner, and that points you out into the rest of these corners pretty nicely. So we'll just go over that, look at the different, look at what the camber is right here, and try to give you that information on what the track looks like with camber wise. So if we come down here, you can kind of see it has more camber on the inside and less camber on the outside, or relatively no camber on the outside. But on the inside, seems to have loads of camber, and you can use this curve definitely to increase your camber here. So as you can see, looking out that way, kind of right at the edge of that curbing right there, you can kind of see it. You can kind of make it out, and now you can see it. So right there, all I'm moving is up and down. So I'm keeping the same X trajectory, or a little bit later is fine. And that puts you out actually relatively nicely out to this corner right here. This corner does have camber to it. Pretty much all these corners have camber to it, and then less camber on the outside. In this case, actually, it has more camber on the outside, but that's not going to help you. It's just going to make it easier for people to go around the outside of you and make it easier for you to battle around these corners. So this one, let's see what type of camber this one has. You can kind of see it has a little bit of camber. It's also a little bit of uphill, so that helps. Being able to stay flat out. I mean, I don't know of any car that's not flat out in these corners once the tires are warm. I know the Miata takes a while to warm up and get up to speed, but overall you should be able to be flat out through these corners, no problem. This corner is kind of the same way here. A little bit of corner on the inside. You can definitely use the curbs to give you more camber, but the goal is to minimize the scrubbing and minimize any sort of drag to the track. So we'll keep coming down here, and coming down to this corner. This corner, it's flat. I mean, I turn in right at these cones. So this is probably the most important part here, or the most important for the rest of this straight. For this whole straight, this is probably the most difficult and the most important part of this area until you get down to that corner right there, that uphill. Do not remember the name of that corner or what track or what corner number it is, so you can see where this track is. You kind of want to turn in right at the end of those cones, or right where that white line starts, right there. Cones, white line, right there. And turn in, and it kind of brings you into this corner nicely and sets you up for the rest of this area pretty nicely. Use the curbs here if you're in the Miata or the Skip Barber or the SRF. Definitely use the curbs. Just be mindful of the curbs. The curbs will help you out a little bit with camber. Just be mindful not to hit them too hard and or go over them, because going over them will cost you time, and it will potentially even cost you a loss of the race. So yeah, camber here is not too great, and actually as you get to the exit here, it's actually off camber a little bit, as you can kind of see. So moving over to this corner here, it is oops, damn it. One second. Actually, I forgot I can use this to kind of point out stuff. That's right. But I'm gonna put this like this, and it's not a lot of camber here at all. In fact, I think it's a little bit of off camber. Yeah, it's a little bit off camber here in this corner. So making use of the curb on this corner is actually very important. Coming into the corner, it's on camber, and then exiting the corner, it's off camber, and it's even worse on this corner, on the exit here. It's off camber, and then it gets really off camber if you come out wide here. But it does set you up nicely into a little gulch or little dip in the road that kind of loads the car nicely. So coming into here, you know, if you can kind of pick out where you are going to exit the corner, you can kind of pick out where you're going to apex these corners. It's kind of probably the easiest part of this track is this area right here. Coming up is the hardest part of the track, in my opinion, or one of the hardest parts of the track. Not the hardest. The hardest part of the track is that last section up over there. Anyways, we'll get to that in a bit. But right here, you can kind of see how it has the cambering right there. How it kind of just kind of tricks you until you get low. Then you can kind of see it. But yeah, it has the camber isn't that great on this corner, so it's pretty decently nice to use the curbing here. But in this corner, it dips into a little valley-ish area and gives you some camber, and even on the exit it has some camber, or on the outside it has some camber, and you can use the curb to even give you even more camber, so you know it's just like the rest of the ones. And this one, you kind of want to exit this one. I'd say apex mid corner, so like, yeah, right around here. Yeah, apex mid to late corner here, depending on what you're driving. So you know, right where I'm at, or a little bit later. You know, you could apex as late as really as the end of the curb. You might lose some time because of your entry, so I'd say really just aim for mid corner apex and try to carry mid track and hit that curb. And sometimes hitting that curb can upset the car if it's in the wrong car, but yeah, it is kind of a early apex here, early to late apex here, depending on what car you're driving. So you can apex as early as there, or as late as the end of this curb, depending on where you're driving. It just depends on what your car's characteristics are. So yeah, this corner right here is pretty much the same as the other ones. You just want to make sure that you're using as much as you can of the road. On cold tires, this corner might not be flat out on the MX-5 or the Skip Barber or the SRF, but it might be close to it. So you know, be careful of the lift off oversteer right here on your first few laps. But once the tires get warm, it should be flat through here. Where it gets sketchy is on the next corner, and we'll go to there right now, and kind of crest the hill right here. You want to be on the right hand side here, of course. And there's not a lot of reference points for this corner. It's kind of a brake by feel corner too. You want to brake as much as you need, but not too much. You want to set the car. In the Skip Barber, this is a 4th gear corner. In the MX-5, this is a 4th gear corner. In the F3, this is a 5th gear corner. And it's basically 6th downshift, 5th floor it through here. So just kind of dip the nose in, lift, dip, downshift, and dip the nose in, and power out, but I'm not too fast on the F3, so I'm still learning. I'm still learning here on the F3, learning the exact track dynamics with the car dynamics combined. It's been a while since I've driven the F3, so that's that. But anyways, going into this corner, you want to apex right about here. Right about here. We'll fly up and use this method of using the mouse as my pointer. So you can kind of see, you know, apex there, apex there. You want to be on the right hand side here, and you want to come in right around here, and pushes you out to the right around there, and use all that exit area. Do not hit the grass. Hit the grass. It's if you're in a rear-wheel drive car, you can see those tire streaks right there. Yeah, that's what happens to you, or you just go off, and that's a pit area down there. So it's like it sucks your car into that. It's pretty much race over for you, because if you go on that side, you get a penalty, and if you come and it takes ages and ages to get back onto this part of the track. So that's pretty much race over for you, unless everyone else does the same thing. But yeah, early to mid apex this corner, and you want to push out to here. I want to late apex this corner, because that's just going to cut down on time, and you're not using the maximum amount of track on the exit. But let's come down here and check out what the cambering is. This is a downhill corner, so it makes it a little bit more tricky, because it loads the car up more, especially if it's an off camber. I mean, you know Brands Hatch and how tricky turn 1 is there. It's an off camber downhill corner. So this corner is a bit on camber. It's not super on camber. Exit is super off camber. So you don't want to be out here. You want to hook it in tight through here. You don't want to be out there. You want to hook it in here, especially at speed. But it does, I believe, come to be an off camber corner over here. And no, it's just a neutral camber corner. But again, same thing with the curb here as the other corner that I was talking about with the curb on the exit. Use the inside of the curb, not the outside of the curb. You go to the outside of the curb, you're going to lose grip. Use the inside of the curb, and you can use the maximum amount of grip that you can use, because it kind of creates an extra bit of barrier and camber for your car to rest on. To use just a little bit more grip, and that is for the more experienced people. By the way, that is not for the lesser experienced people. So here, you have different braking zones. Turn 4 to 3 is where the Skip Barber, SRF, and Mazda are going to use. Anything past 3 is, you know, late breakers for the Skip Barber, Mazda, and SRF classes. The 2 markers what I use for the F3. I could probably actually brake it later. I could probably brake it the 1 marker or maybe a little bit before the 1 marker. But going into here, there's not a lot of reference markers around here. I mean, that's kind of the theme for this track too, at least with the settings that I'm running. There's not a lot of reference markers as for where you want to put your eyes at. So basically, you're just looking for the crest of this hill. You're looking for the apex, which will fly up here right now and look where the apex is, and then come back down on it. You can kind of see where the grass patches are, and there's that tree right there, and how tight that corner is compared to this corner. So this corner, you can actually carry a lot of speed into this corner. So you want to early apex this corner, right? You can kind of see where the early apex is right there. Right there. Apex this corner, and then carry out over to this curbing here. You can carry a lot of speed, so you don't really have to brake super hard. You just want to get the nose in and get weight transfer to the front, and slow the car down just enough to come in here. You don't want to overslow. You don't want to underslow. You want to get it just right and carry as much speed as possible through here. You know, when you're practicing, it's okay to carry more speed in here. You know, when you're first learning the track, it's okay to undercarry speed or overslow into the corner. So that's fine. You know, it's just a matter of finding the balance. At some point, you should be underslowing the car, meaning you're carrying too much speed in the corner, and that'll give you more of an idea. Is okay, I carried too much speed in the corner. I went off here. Okay, let's back it down just a little bit, let's back it down a bit and then work it up slowly until I find that right point where if I go just a little bit faster, then I oversteer and or I overcook it into the corner and go off track or do whatever happens. So let's this one right here. Sorry, I had a bit of a brain fart there as to what to use for my mouse. So if we're coming down into here and alright, so here we are, and turn whatever this corner is, coming into this oak tree corner, or I don't know what the name of the corner is. I know it has a name, but yeah. So let's come down here and look what the track conditions are here. So this is a bit of an off-camber corner, which is kind of unusual. It's on camber on entry, and then it kind of gets off camber, maybe a little bit on camber on exit. I could also just have my screen tilted too much from all the excessive stuff that I've been pressing the A and W while holding Alt on accident. Actually, I can't change it without going back to the car. Damn. Alright, well, whatever. Maybe it's a little bit on camber. You can back up and always look at it. It's a little bit on camber. Looks like it gets a little bit off camber on exit. Yeah, it does. It gets off camber on exit. So be aware of that. And or neutral camber on exit. And it has some camber right out here. And this curbing is not the same as the other ones. So beware of that. This curbing is way more flat, but you want to use all of this curbing that you can. Just don't hit the grass. And because the oak tree is in the way here, it's kind of hard. It'll be harder to point out, but you can see where the apex is. The apex is right here. Either apex here or late apex this corner, because you want to get the maximum amount of speed down the straight. So you want to get on throttle as early as possible, and really hook it into this corner and power out, and use as much of the track exit as possible. Just don't do what those lines are showing, or what these ones are showing going out that way. So you want to really hook it into this corner and boom, right out there. So from right around mid curbing here, you want to be turning in mid to late or beginning of this curbing to this curbing right here, depending on what car you're driving. If you turn in there, it's going to kind of bring you around this line here. That's going to push you out there. And if you're not careful, if you're on the throttle too early, it's going to, especially in a low power car or a high downforce car, if you're on the power too early, it is going to push you out wide that way, and it will ruin a lot of things for you, potentially put you in the wall or make you lose a lot of places if you're in a race, and ruin the track or ruin the lap that you were just on. So yeah, mid corner turn in or mid curbing turn in right here is where my opinion would lie, and kind of aim for the exit being on the last quarter bit of curbing on the exit. Let's take a look at what we're dealing with here for camber wise. So it is an on camber corner. Looks like it's an on camber corner all the way through. Yep, it is an on camber corner all the way through. So yeah, on camber corner, just not as much camber here. So be careful of that. Be aware of that. You can use the curbing here on the entry to give you a little bit more camber, like always. And the curbing here is not the same as the other ones. Oh wait, yeah, no, it's not. You can use the curbing, just be aware that it's not going to give you a bunch more grip or really any grip. Probably maybe take some grip away because you do have some dust and stuff on it. Anyways, moving on down the road, it's just flat out from here. So this is where it gets kind of tricky. You want to brake at like the 2 or the 1 marker, depending on what you're doing, what car you're in. It's potentially even as late as these things. In the F3, I think I'm not entirely sure where to brake in the F3 yet. I'm thinking right here. if I can get it straight enough, I brake right here and get it really slowed down and then turn it into the rest of this corner. And this area is where it gets really tricky, and it's a lot of off camber stuff and a lot of difficult bits. But yeah, turning point is roughly right around here, right around there, and we'll go up in the air and look at where the apex of this on this corner right here. So we'll go up a little bit higher. Yep. There we go. Now we can see all this stuff. So yeah, turning point's gonna be right around there, which is gonna put you right around here. You can maybe turn in a little bit earlier, and but that pushes you out a little bit wider. So I mean, depending on what your goal is, you know, maybe your goal should be to keep it on this side of the track for this corner right here. I found middle of the track to that side of the track, and the skip barber was okay. You just have to slow it down more and really compromise and use the curving on this corner right here. But I found that to be okay time wise. But it's just a matter of how your skill level is. So maybe you want to enter this corner fast and slow down as much as possible and really brake hard in this corner and go slow into this corner and then go through here. Or you want to, if you're more experienced, you know, come on the inside, and it's a little bit harder to make this corner. You know, after this corner right here, you have to get the car settled and get everything settled before you really turn into this corner and brake really hard. If you brake too much, you know, it'll throw you off in this area right here. It is a very difficult braking zone, because sometimes you have to brake a little bit earlier. You have to brake around here and carry the brake into here, and you know, it's just a difficult bit. So we'll come down onto this apex here and see why it is actually so difficult to hit here. So I don't think it's actually the track is difficult to hit here. I think it's actually, yeah, it's just a normal camber. Normal camber, maybe a little bit of camber. So you want to use the curving kind of. You kind of want to late apex this corner maybe. So, you know, if you want to late apex the corner, then, you know, you're looking over there as your apex point, or as your turning point. You know, those bends, and you want to kind of straight line the exit here and brake and brake, and there we go. And as you can kind of see already, it's a bit of a difficult, maybe a little bit on camera. So you want to maximize this curbing. If you're not on this curbing, if you're on the outside here, you're in a tough spot, because even though there is some camber, there is no grip out here. You want to maximize your grip on the inside, and it is downhill, so it's even worse. But moving on to this corner here, you kind of see that there is some more camber on the exit, but it kind of just bleeds all the way. So you want to maximize your curbing use. There's no curbing on the exits here, so you want to kind of come to the middle of the road here, to maximize your entry into this corner, because this is a fast bit. You want to be fast here, so, you know, maximizing how fast you are here is important. So coming up to this corner right here, it is a little bit on camber. Oop. Yep, there we go. A little bit on camber. It is downhill, so it makes it very difficult, very, very tough. So, you know, using this curving here is important for cars like the Miata and the Skip Barber and the SRF, to give you as much camber as possible. And then you come down here and you want to use all this exit curbing as possible. And this is not one of those curbs that gives you, you know, good grip. It's kind of like the one on the exit of the oak tree corner. So it doesn't give you a lot of grip here, so you want to be mindful of that. And then coming down to this corner over here, this is a difficult corner. This is especially in the Skip Barber and the SRF and the Miata, because you want to slow the car down, but you don't want to slow it down too much. And if you hit the brakes at the wrong angle, or the wrong amount of brakes, and you get off the brakes too fast, or you get on the brakes too hard, or whatever the case may be, you're not having a fun day, or a fun lap at least. And you can kind of see where the apex point is right here. So the apex point is right where that grass is broken right there, and you know, turning points right there at the end of that corner. So you can kind of see that people are keeping their tires kind of out there, but you don't want to really do that. You want to maximize your amount of grip, so you want to keep your tires on the inside of that line and turn in right at the end of there and turn in and hit right here and push out to about the middle of the track, left side middle of the track, this part of the track, this half of the track, and turn in to that corner right there. And this corner right here is I think it's an off-camber corner. Maybe it's an on-camber corner. It's slightly on-camber, which is kind of the theme with this corner. It's on-camber coming into the corner, but you want to make sure you hook it on the inside because the outside drops off in grip and camber. As you can see, it really drops off in grip and camber. So yeah, a lot of these corners seem to be really close to on-camber or just barely, or not on-camber, just neutral camber, or whatever the case may be, really close to that. So this is another corner you want to use. You want to maximize, your curbing use of this corner, and doesn't have a lot of camber to it, so which makes this corner very difficult too. But you want to use the dip in the road here. You want to use the elevation change, the way it loads the car up as an advantage to your driving, to your car. Kind of put the people on the outside at a disadvantage if you are racing people through here, going side by side through here. So use as much as you can. Use everything that you can to your advantage. And this corner, this curving right here is also another. It is another really flat one. That's not going to give you a lot of room to mess around with. You can put your tire on the exit. It will give you a little bit more grip, but you don't want to go over onto this area right here. You want to stay on this side of the track, and my arm is cramping up. That's fun. So with that being said, apex there, push it out to right here. Haven't really talked about reference points at all, because personally that changes a lot. You can use different things, and this track is a very reference point missing track. So it's missing a lot of reference points. It's missing a lot of things that you can have at other tracks that there's a lot more of. At least with the settings I'm running it, it's missing a lot of them. So let's move on to the next one. The next corner, which is right here. And this corner right here should be either flat out or close to flat out. One or the other. It should be really close to it. Driver's flat. So if you're feeling comfortable with being flat through here, then you can be flat through here. But you really want to be flat through here, because this is leading to a very, very fast, very long straight. So you really want to maximize your speed through these two last corners. Really, from the top of the hill, from the exit to the top of the hill, you want to maximize your speed all the way down through this whole area. You want to maximize your speed from right up there. You want to maximize your speed all the way down, all the way through here, and through here, and you can see how long that straight is. Maybe not as long as this straight right here, but it is a very long straight, and the draft is important. It will get you a lot of time down these straights. So yeah, be mindful of that. Let's come back down here to looking at this last corner. Yeah, let's come down here and look at the cambers and angles of this track right here. So let's come on here, and it looks like a pretty camber neutral corner. So use as much of the curve. Yeah, it's a very camber neutral corner. So you use as much of your curving as possible. It has some camber to it, but the camber definitely drops away as you come out. And then push wide. Use as much of this curving as possible. This curving will give you a bit more grip too. Not a whole lot, but it will give you a little bit more grip, so you can be a little more confident there. Just make sure you don't go again on those stripes there. Once you go over those, then the grip drops out, and yeah. So then come in here and coming down the straight and Really just turn in and try to find the angle that gives you the least amount of scrubbing in the car that you're driving. You can kind of see there's that X on the ground right there. That's about the point that you want to turn in on. And yeah, that X points you straight out to there and gives you the right angle and trajectory, in my opinion, for this corner. And exit it and repeat the lap. I hope this helped you guys a lot. My goal wasn't to really tell you or teach you about the track or teach you how to drive around here. My goal was to, or drive a certain car. My goal was to inform you of this track and inform you how this track flows and what the characteristics of this track are, and give you a better idea of that. So if you're experiencing something like you're finding understeer on the outside of the track, or you're finding that you can't hook it into the corners properly, it's probably because you aren't turning in early enough. So you want to turn in, relatively early for a lot of these corners, because the grip drops away the later you turn in for these corners. For a lot of these corners, especially the first half of the track, the grip drops away the later you turn in, and then the last bit of the track, the grip drops away the later you turn in. But yeah, so it's a majority. You want to learn how the track's characteristics are, and that's why track walks are so important, so you can do it. I highly recommend doing this yourself. To see this track for yourself, all you have to do is hit Alt, or you have to hit Control F12 and then Control Z, and Control Z puts you into mouse mode, which gives you the ability to move around. You can use your right click and right click to go backwards, left click to go forwards. Space does this, and W pushes you forward, S pushes you back, D, A, and then Alt does W. Alt W pushes you high, and then Alt S pushes you low, and then Alt A tilts your screen, and Alt D tilts your screen. So I'm actually going to change those so I don't tilt my screen ever again when doing this. But anyways, yeah. So thank you guys very much for watching, and hope you guys have a good one, and stay tuned for future stuff. And I'll be posting a hot lap here in a minute, but yeah, this video is going to go up first. So yep, and go ahead and follow me at Cecil Racing, and then big thank you to my sponsors: Adapting Social, Tognotti's, Tai Chi Sim Racing Wheels, Cecil and Cecil Enterprise FNX, and CS Tactical for sponsoring me and helping me achieve what I want to do. And yeah, thank them very much, and I'm loving every second of this stuff, and I'm actually really enjoying this livery. I just can't race with the full graphics on. And yeah, go ahead and follow me at Cecil_Racing at Instagram, and my website is www.cecilracing.com. Thank you guys very much. You guys have a great day.